Right, after a couple days of drying, I'm ready to trim this cover jar. I'll trim the body first. So I'm using my number 3 carbide tool to do the general removing of all the thicker clay. So the using the trimming tool, this kind of a trimming tool, you basically want to use a lot of the spot that is closer to the corner, so that if you are using more of the tip, you might get the unwanted chattering mark. But the trimming point, if you get it closer to the corner, it should be fine, and you won't have the unwanted chattering mark. So after roughly remove all, much of the clay, I'm using my number 2 to get the corner more nicer corner, because the number 2, I have a 90 degrees here, so it's easier to take care of that corner. You can also use the tip of the number 2 to trim, especially when your clay is very dry. This is a very good way to trim. And when you are using the carbide tool, don't try to trim your clay too wet, okay? The carbide is very hard material, so when you trim, you could trim as dry as the bone dry, okay? Even the clay is bone dry. It's easy to get through it. So the stage when you are trimming, you might want to wait till the clay passing the dead hard stage. The drier the better. Anything before bone dry, it's trimmable using the carbide tool. Alright, so this is the finished piece of the MKM roller texture cover jar. The number of this roller is RM028. Okay, RM028. In case you're wondering what the model number of this roller. Okay, MKM RM028. And what I did was trimming the bottom first, using my number 3 and number 2 carbide tools. Okay, number 3 first, and then number 2 for getting the corner nicely done. And then flip over and slightly trim, because my lid is a little bit wider than the base, so trim and remove a little bit clay, so the clay is sitting very tight on top of the body. And I usually like to trim it that way. If my lid is fitting very tight, I like to do it that way, so I can see the full proportion of the lid and related to the body. And then I was using number 3 to get the corner here. It's especially designed for trimming the nut, can get to the underneath, so you have more grabbing room when you're holding the nut. Okay, so number 3 is specially designed for that purpose. And then after that, I kind of burnish and then use my number 2 carbide tool to get a cheddar mark here on the lid. So that's it, the lidded texture lidded jar. Okay, it could be a teapot if I make a spout and a handle. I can turn it into a teapot.